Hello, good evening. Happy Moon Day, the 20th of July, 2720. It is I, David. Kevin, is on the other side there on the line. You want to say hello, brother?
Good evening, all. Hope you're well. Here we are for your delectation and consideration, and I hope you're all having a good week for the one day of it we're in, and enjoying the weather if you can. And much love to you all.
Let me turn you up a bit. You might need a little bit of a volume up. Let's get you. Let's see. Yeah, so we've entitled it Conscience and Matter. All of your consciences and all of the matters that are afoot we will discuss. Apologies for not going live on Saturday. We were both quite worn out for various reasons, and then Sunday we went and did the .com update, and then we were both worn out again by the time that had finished.
Yeah,
So yes, apologies. Better late than never, eh?
we get there in the end. You have to wait for quality. No, it was. I don't know. I think the heat and stuff last week. I mean, I wasn't even working, and it took it out of me. So I can imagine how Dave was feeling after grafting in that. It was quite close, and what was it, 26 or 27, 1 point last week. So I think it was just an accumulation, but yeah, just felt absolutely drained. But here we are, folks. Ship shape and Bristol fashion, if you're on a ship.
Yeah, that's just it. Shipmates, we're all good. Yeah, I was. I think a lot are quite fatigued. I don't know if it's the time, the astro-theological, the mental consciousness. If it's a combination of all, I don't know. I've got my suspicions, and we've got our facts, and so we try to stick to the facts. But the suspicions they are mounting up in a lot of areas. So yeah, conscience and matter. I'm going to go into the deep end with regards to the Madame Blavatsky and the favourite of all of my doctrines. When a couple of years ago, when I searched a few archive resource libraries, and I put doctrines in to look at different doctrines. Obviously, you know, the doctrine you've come to learn is a church word, but it's in law. And the doctrine of notices, notice, my notice, I notice you, my notice in our notices. So notices you'll see around and about, they carry legal clout. They come under the doctrine of notices. And when I discovered a doctrine and the church connection some years ago, I happened to just now and again look for doctrines. And when I found the secret doctrine, I thought, no, they can't be, surely not. It's got to be Crowley, Manley, P. Hall, Lovecraft, somebody. But it wasn't. It was a European lady from the 1800s, and she did a study and some works and some writings. And when you've heard me whiffle on about 1113, synchronicity, Santos going on about syncretism, Claudio and Mama's coming home. There are, uniform codes and uniformed officers, but there are unified fields, and these scholars and thought leaders that you've listened to, other than I and Kev and others, they know about this field, and the interaction within the secret doctrine tells us that this unified field, this is the quantum effect, is these are the lessons in how to interact and understand the creation, manifestation, and the maintenance of the universe and matter. And the quantum science effects, in a nutshell, prove that when matter is observed, it behaves differently. So there's a correlation between consciousness and matter. Neither one can be on its own. They have a relationship of which, in the 1888 year, 180, nearly close, but in my programming memories for the dads, that was bit of bully for dads. In the 1800s, and you may have heard us say the Bills of Exchange 1882, and these years, but it's not often we bring, like Tesla passing away late, sorry, in 1800s, 1900s, thereabouts, and Not much happening after the 1950s really of any interest, but back early, that early, you would think because we're in 2020, we've got all this advanced technology, we know everything, we're quite arrogant in our stance and how we see and depict things, but yes, we got some blessings coming in this lady's works, The Secret Doctrine. You can go and find it yourself. It's on the .com, and there is a proem and some other prepositions you will need before you read The Secret Doctrine. There's like 80% of readers can't get it, don't understand it, think it's written incorrectly, that it contains fallacies, esoteric, pseudo, non-tangible references. But there are some things that I'm going to bring to you when we go on this second tier. You see, when we take away man's own personal Jesus, did you really think we didn't have a backup plan for removing Jesus? We've got a backup plan. When you take away your own personal Jesus, what you're going to put there in that's a big gap to fill, that is. It's going to take a big man to fill that cast. And the man that's going to fill that cast is you, is the reflection in the image of. The Godhead is within. God is no respecter of persons. The books, the codes, the Old, the New Testaments, and what we've found within, the scholarly work that's been done, such as Josephus and Joseph Atwill and Jordan and Santos and Romilly and everything we've found so far. Egypt having its own renaissance, is this secret doctrine has landed in my lap some years ago, and I've never looked at it. I've just had it in a folder and it's been carried around mobile device to device. And then the other day I looked at it for some reason. I did a word search and I found stuff that's I liked, and it references the key to inwardly, project, outwardly attract. So this is when we say you use the unified field. When I did my video the other day and I was talking about mental health and the manifestation and the emittance of, it's all in here. And we're together. I'd like us to just celebrate a little bit of life, because when you hear of the secret and the ways to and the codes, well, on an atomic level, it can be proven that these rules and laws exist, and we are atoms, whether we like it or not, on a structure basis, and we go through cyclical cycles. So for your mental health and things that happen every day, I look at this body as an instrument. We talk about instruments at law and bills and acts and parliament and etc., international covenants, and the instruments that we have, legal, lawful. And this body isn't David. This body is an instrument that allows David to express, you see. So me, myself and I, the consciousness, the soul and the spirit, of the creator within. And then when I die, I'll give up a ghost. So I have a ghost there. There's a Holy Spirit in the holy seas. When we talk about the requesting of the priest from Liverpool at Alderhay, we require passage through the holy seas. The seas of commerce, the seas of space, the seas in the air is where the trust law would operate, because the holy seas are there as well. And the trust is defined in Genesis, so to speak, there. So this unified field is in the air. So it's not just empty space. The universal codes operate on the seas of commerce. The seas of commerce come onto the land. And that's how the boat people do their business. So you have UCC, unified, commercial code, uniform commercial code, sorry, and you have the air carrying that law system, because it's invisible and you can't see it. The boats operate at sea, on the water, maritime and admiralty governance there. The church, it has its own law, ecclesiastical. The Law Society of London has its own law, the Law Society. And so these are the governances with they were shown this, like Queen Elizabeth I at the very latest stage, in the Sirs and the Lords and the awards that go out there to recognise, these inventors and scientists and explorers and whatnot. So when we talk about science and, law, it's because indirectly they are all connected. We find that when we defend the weak, the vulnerable, the less able, they generally come with unstable mental capabilities, don't they, Kev? When we find people, they're quite weak and upset or traumatized, under attack, all of the above.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I've got a dog barking in the garden. So I just had to.
Real good.
Yes, under attack.
Yeah, mental health
We
is an
are.
area, laws and how we
Ooh,
govern ourselves, and our bodies, our mental health. It's not no one's a master of that. I don't say.
I wish I was. No, mental health's difficult, and it's different for everybody. Obviously, I doubt there's any two cases the same. I've learned some techniques that have helped tremendously, but there are still times where they don't help, or maybe subconsciously I don't want them to help. I don't know what it is, but generally 90% of the time I can divert those thoughts and change the process, but there's still times where it just runs away with me. Doesn't matter. So it's all different for everybody. Anybody suffering, I don't, anybody suffering with that, I don't begrudge them at all. I know exactly what that's like. It's not funny. Not funny.
Living in fear of losing property, life, liberty. It's each situation is unique. We can't lumber everybody together, but there is an awful lot of us that are in jeopardy for one reason or another. Governments being behind, playing catch up with, some of the issues that are at hand financially, politically, socially, economically, financially, economically, socially, politically, with the schools, the amount of time the sons and daughters have missed during indoctrination, education at the academies and trusts, there. So there's a lot of concern. We're all getting ramped up for a summertime. Getting back to its normal time. It's almost like it's getting back to normal, but something is definitely amiss, and we're not safe by any means. And to have like the scientific and the scientific advisors changing narrative, and then the prime minister changing the rhetoric has been like a. Has anybody ever seen a game of what's that little game you play in a box room where they hit a tiny ball with wooden bats, they slam it really hard, squash.
Squash. Yeah.
It's like the rhetoric for the COVID narrative between the Prime Minister, his chief scientific advisors, and several other, even the Labour opposition to some point, has been like just a squash game. No one's ever. There's been no agreement. Never have I seen such international instability at a time when the world needs to come together and put its differences aside, a bit like Crimbo, what we do for a day there, or a week maybe maximum. We all try and like each other for a bit in the name of Jesus. Well, now in the name of man's future, the world could do with just forgetting about technology and spying and what is it, the bio-dukes of Hazard, the dukes there from Russia allegedly coming up. England's pissing off everybody quite easily. It's not just its homeland, indigenous, terra firma, man, flesh and blood manid. It's pissing off on a national scale. We're making threats. Sanctions are being put out left, right, and centre, and they're going to jab you. Jab is a military move. It's a fighting move. A jab is a punch. A punch, jab. A jab is not something I would like to be on the receiving end of. Just me and the way I look at things. They're looking at offering contracts with us for our safety. It looks like, in the name of safety, but we'll get to that in a bit. It's just rather turbulent, the messages that we're getting from these lot, and the backtracking, and then the Labour opposition, and the lack of the Queen's intervention. We've had a royal wedding though, I do believe, and a shout going out to Avon where there were 3,000 mandem in a field having a rave that the old Bill turned up at and said, we're not going to stop that, it's rainy and wet. and it's too dangerous. More like there's 3,000 man them, and you can have a few angry heads there if you turn that system off. So you'll be letting that play there, Sergeant, won't you? Yes, of course you will.
There's 2 of us, 3,000 of them.
Yeah, and that's what we call powers of discretion, discretionary
Yeah.
powers. We could argue that there was villagers ringing up saying, now then there's an illegal rave going off in a field, and the police went and found that rave, and they didn't stop it, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, initiates and scholars. Now, why didn't they go in and turn that off? Because it was an illegal rave. It was because there was sheer respect and honour in the force, for one. We're not here to slate the force, and they worked out that it wasn't a workable situation in which to increase or instigate some, what would you call it there, vexation by stopping the
Yes.
music and going, hello everybody, at 12:30 in the morning when 3,000 people have turned up for a private, they call it an illegal rave, we just call it a gathering, it's a private gathering to be fair, and some calls were made and officers turned up, but the event was carrying on all night into the wee hours of the morning. So respect to all involved in that. For that's something you don't mind hearing about, where you go, so the police then obviously were kicking ass later on when the music stops playing, Kev, and the lights come on at the end of the rave. You've got to speak to Sergeant Dibble.
Officer Dibble while you're gurning.
Avon, you did it big. You did it well. Officers, see, it doesn't have to come to fisticuffs, no violence, and I believe it went down. Yeah, so credit where credit's due for initiative, dexterity. To have a look who's in the. Is anybody in? Is there? Have they found out?
Yes. Oh, what? In
the room.
what? In the room, yeah. Husky, Chippy Paul, Yardy, Quinn, Alias, Andy. How you doing, Andy? Hope everybody's all right. Good evening to you all. Thanks for joining us. That's who's in at the moment.
Nice one. Good evening. Sorry we're late. We this is your Saturday update interaction on a Monday, Moon Day special.
This is proper late.
Yeah, but we get there. We get it done, don't we, brother? We get it done.
We get there in the end, mate. Alias, mate, I hope you're feeling better. I don't know what your issues were. They weren't too serious, mate, but I hope you're feeling a bit better now, mate. Making an assumption you're a male there, that might have been a bit presumptuous of me.
I think it may be a cis star.
I'm sorry if I have
it's all right,
done that again.
I hope you've all been enjoying the community posts I've been doing to keep you in the loop. We have got some corrections with regards of the canonisation of the Bibliotech, the New Testament there, and it looks like we got some Darren Brown Da Vinci Code coming. Not that Darren Brown did the Da Vinci Code, but some Darren Brown and some other influences coming through some of the scholars that I've watched, and I've taken some of their info, and then I've since found some other scholars that talk about the 3rd century, the 4th century, and the canonisation of the Bible, and the references to what I've found. Some of you have said it's been incorrect, and those of you that have said, Dave, you're wrong there, it appears, yeah, we are, and I will be taking great pleasure to go into the detail of the Council of Hippo and the Council of Rome held by the Pope, I think it was Damasus, in the Synod of Hippo 393. So it doesn't put Constantine in the clear. It doesn't mean that Romans are nice people and that all bets are off. It just means that the Bible's canonisation has got a little bit more accurate detail into the canonisation of it, what canons actually are, what books were left out. You know, I didn't know there was 5 books in the Gospel of Thomas that was left out. The Assyrian Dead Sea Scrolls and text there, the ancient Hebraic and phonetic text there, the Egyptian, it all started, if you'd heard that Chemical Brothers in Africa, and it's got that loop, trippy loop bit roll at the beginning. Well, it began in the Hermetica, car. After you've got your Ishtar and Zoroastra fade out after 6000 BC on its way into 3000-ish, we've got Thoth, and Hermes, appearance of Buddha, Enki, Enoch, Methuselah. All of these gospels there in Thomas, and the powers of the way, the will, and the Hermetica is echoed Egypt, China, and you'll find that Madame Blavatsky, God bless her little cotton socks. I would love to spiritually hug her, high five, and have an intimate chat. You're gonna love what's coming, but yes, if you just bear everything in mind, we're in a very good and strong place at the minute with the reference and the history, the lineages, the peoples, and it's good to be able to look at documents, and it's called continuous improvement. It's learning, and the evolution of learning. When you are in a dark place, you will learn, because when you climb a mountain, you're making progress to get to the top, to get to the summit, to get to the objective of climbing that mountain. When you sit and have a rest, when you're climbing that mountain and you're not going anywhere, you're not getting to your objective, it's nice, and you're having a rest, and it's better than climbing to some extent, and you're having your hydration, but you've got a job to be doing, and you're not there to sit on that mountain. So that sitting down is going to come to an end, and then you're going to go back to, and climbing a mountain isn't really a dark place, but in life you do find that you don't excel until you're doing something you don't want to be doing, is what I'm trying to say. Kev?
You got there in the end. Well, yeah, dark places are horrible places. I've had the fortune not to have been there very often in the last few months. Opened the door and had a peek through a couple of days last week. If that's the only way I can describe it. Had a very short visit, but no, not funny. Not funny. Mental health, and especially if you've got other issues going on at the time, like people, harassing you for this, that, and the other, and money, and debts, and bills, and God knows what else. Not a pleasant place to be.
Well, we're going to make Britain great again, and we will instill through.
Well, you see, if we make England great again, at least it says mega.
Let's make England great. You're right. We can. Yeah, I see what you're doing there. We need to bring to you, as well as the secret doctrine. All right. There's another bumper bit of news on this Moon Day. Is that some of you, most of you, probably, more likely, I'm going to assume here, make an ass out of you and me. All right, if I'm going down, you're coming down with me. It's all right, assume, if you assume me. What am I talking about? I'm talking about trust. I'm talking about the technology where, a trust is not only used to protect an asset, so to speak, but it's also used to discharge, and will go for liabilities. Now that may prick a few ears up. I did put a notice up the other day about a post that I mulled over some years ago, some months ago at least, going on for 2 now. How you would look at, what do you mean a trust could discharge liabilities? Let's do this. You've heard me mention the signature used as an equitable asset, and you've heard me talk about the person, the instrument, the certificate, the straw man, the estate, the fiction, the persona, the mask is the equitable instrument. Yeah, so you've got the equitable instrument, the certificate, and all of those phrases and words and narratives to that birth certificate, the instrument, because it's paper based, and then you've got the signature, which is the asset. So in the trust, we've shown you and looked at and explored and discovered that trust will protect an asset. And we've looked at the various areas of the trust law, and to bring that to you, we've gone Mosaic, biblical, Abrahamic, law, ecclesia, we've gone legal, England and Wales, we've gone constructed, statutory, etc., UK, and we've gone private, home, babysitter, son, daughter, private contract, no paperwork, no court, trust set up. So there are many and various fully functioning lawful and legal trusts that are set up where you will put an asset in and you will use that trust well and it will function perfectly. But now you need to know that the equitable asset that you're going to look at learning to put in a trust would not be a physical item, but it would be the signature. The equitable asset goes in, and when you're in a trust and you're the trustee of the trust, you have only certain limitation, legal possessory rights, so to speak, for access as trustee to that property, don't you? Because that's what we found. It's not really a good place to be in, and the legal realm, much like the legal maxims, much like the canonization of the biblical testification and the way that the church has usurped man's good energy in a deceptive way. The fact you don't need to know you're in a trust as a trustee. To be in a trust is another one of their deceptive little game changer rules that you find. So you're like, hang on a minute. So you can rip somebody off and screw them over without even looking them in the eye. Yes, you can, and it's legal too. Oh my goodness! And these are the people we entrust with these kind of games and rules and assumptions and presumptions and codes and the body of Christ, the blood of Christ. Yes, dop, dip, dab, yes. So, you don't need to know you're a trustee to be, you would bring you this, the teachings of and the Lord's and where we get this from. So it's not just our whim and hopes and prayers here. We've researched it. So you got the trust, and you got it. It's not too easy to do, but we need to explore the next layer, level 2 of trust. So if you've got your mouth wet, and you're in for, a treat with the UCC and the accepted for value, promissory notes, bills of exchange, the persons and the trusts and the liabilities, claiming of notary protests, why there is a 3-day rule in contract law, where that 3-day rule comes from, what governs that, and is it possible? People have asked me before, how do you put your birth certificate in a trust? Well, maybe it isn't the birth certificate you want to put in a trust there. Hey, it might just be that it could be the other part of that relationship, attachment. Now, the tort law, to finish off and to wind up, the tort law is what I'd like you to look at there, because one of the basic tenets of criminal liability is actus non facit remi nisi, mens sit rea. What does that mean in English? I hear you cry. A guilty act is not required in criminal law. If a person does a criminal act, he will be found guilty. The act is not guilty unless the mind is guilty. So when you say, Dave, the secret doctrine is not really church, law, it's not Latin, it's not something you should be on about, it's a bit far out there, I'm worried about you, our kid. Well, the ment and the halls of a mente and all that is meant, govern ment, go green ment, government, ment, mind, Latin. And so they do look at intent, ment, and it's very key that we look at all associated, affiliated areas around this and the doctrines of what they are aware of and use against us. So that will all become clear and apparent within the secondary tier of the SMG, which is your, we've done the, foundation, basic 101, we're going on to merit. So the guilty mind and guilty act are the same thing. What is actus reus? The guilty mind, moral guilt, a feeling of guilt, the guilty act. Well, we call them deeds, not acts. We're going to separate the rule of law, and we're going to look at rules, and we're going to look at law. And then we're going to go to the establishment, because that's how it should be. I think you've made a few errors. What do you think of that? And if you think that's a bit far out and you can't be doing that because they don't talk to sovereign weirdos, well, your human rights international law and having audiences with the, the Council of the Security Council of the United Nations is something you can quite aptly, it's not just reserved for little girls called Gretna for environmental issues. And you'll hear the British government going, yes, China, you're breaching the human rights, and the whole world's watching. And we talked about the human rights and NATO and the backup with these things that are overshadowing Magna Cartas and constitutional hearsay, three dots and everything else. So it does, it comes into play here that, there are victims and there are crimes, there are rules, there are law, there is confusion, and there is enough. So the tort area is another area of the legal society that they've made to basically do people over. It's basically the one of the dirtiest areas that I've ever had the misfortune of looking into. Torture. That's where it comes from there. Stare decisis, the doctrine, the reasoning behind decisions, the irrelevant part of the decision, the part of the judgment in which the judge recites the facts of the case. There's ratio descendi in the judgment, and the way that they've got programs going into play. It's not honour, it's business, and these Latin simple terms that we found are not. It does, some of it underpins the common law system, some of the doctrines, but some of it is the undoing of God's law. Do you know what I mean? And your souls. So we got rather good at doing what we're doing here, and your mind needs to be strong before you'd win in the judicial realm. Would you not argue, Kev?
Absolutely, I would argue that. Is the angles in this game are just crazy, but I think what Dave's saying about putting the equitable asset into trust, it does make sense to me. I can see there's a good purpose for that, and it's certainly something worth attempting. Or taking that journey. It's not going to do any damage.
Oh, sorry.
What are you doing? Smashing the place up?
Up in a tin of juice, yeah. We'll go through the types of trusts and their different capabilities and what they are then. So when you would go to the higher levels of government, we've talked about chief financial information officers, executive officers, all different officers. They're on a boat. Who manages a boat? An officer. So you've got to appreciate that I can give to you some little bits. You've got to appreciate not everybody's honourable in this game, and we worked hard to get this information and to grasp it, but there is a position where you are unwittingly non-disclosed. I am unwittingly. Man is assumed to be the person. Will say, give us your date of birth, your surname. We think it's normal. We've done that, and the legal system needs that to interface. But because we didn't know we had a data self, we found out we've got the data self. It's management of all of this now, and so they've put us in a position where we didn't realise we was in that position. So why can't we, when we tell you that we use their systems, back at them, and we're having great success when we do that? We've tried all the others and we've given you the results, and they weren't very good. When we used their actual own systems against them, rules and regulations, timings and protocols and everything else, guess what? We started to have wins. When we looked at the legal terms and definitions, and unlike others, people say, yeah, well, Santos may have gone to court, but he still went on the run. Yeah, but the man went and had a fight. He didn't go in and say sorry, and pay up the money and kiss their butts. It doesn't matter how much of the fight you get to if you don't complete it all. The fact that you didn't go and bow down and kiss the ring and bequeathed them to go and carry on with the claims that are out in the public realm at the minute, from murder claims, sex claims. There's a lot. You got to worry who you give your money to, and if you're going to be part in any kind of crimes there. So when we look at their systems, and not what they do in their private time, but now with the actual business, it's very cutthroat, it's dirty, it doesn't have a heart, and if you know a few technicalities, you can simply get away with murder in a financial sense, and the assignment of having limited power to give a principal's name to certain documents, and if the principal himself was signing on said documents, we'll say, the documents upon which someone like the attorney in fact shall have authority to sign the principal's name, because there are things like this in business, if you think, all right, already, this isn't far-fetched. They're limited in scope to the following, like agreements, security agreements, hold harmless agreements, private agreements, as well as we'll argue various acceptances for value. On commercial documents, we'll look at the codes there and assign, and various necessary filings and documents included in the such equivalent of, you've heard of secured party creditor. Well, these would be how we would stop the national debt by building up, because the secured party creditor, I'm not saying that that is exactly faultless, but that's the narrative of which the premise is. The signature in the trust we're still on about here for everybody that's wondering where we are now. So you would look at the authority to give. When I say national debt, we talk about the fact the government borrows money from a private bank and pays it back with perpetual debt, never to be able to get back caught up, because there's only one place to get the money from, and that's the private bank. So we would stop that. The more that tried to offset and transfer via endorsement and discharge, transfer and discharge via endorsement. So it would mean that we would help the government and we would give them the certificate of birth, okay, and we would get in exchange privileges to transfer, discharge, and offset, and we can prove those are the ways forward. So, if we are going to fight on for these bills and charges and so forth, then wouldn't we do it in the correct authorised way, which is something along that little paragraph I gave you there.
Just to catch up, Jerry, good evening. Posh Paul, evening, and of course the lady Lisa. Hi Lisa, how you doing? Hope all's well with everybody.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, yeah. Yar's in the place. Good evening to all.
Good evening, Lisa, Quinn, Jerry, Alias, Posh Paul. I think I've seen Andy somewhere in there as well. Husky. Have you got any questions from the room? Have you got any news, any topics? Do you want to put me on the spot by any chance? Not Kev, just me. You want to ask anything? Have you got any issues, anything in the news, a point? Do you want to have your say? We did say that Saturday nights would be a night to love thy neighbour and to see if we've got anybody that's watching that hasn't said hello, that's new, that wants to ask a question, that's got a friend of a friend that needs some information. There's no legal advice, but we've got a lot to bring to you over the next so many months. This year is turning out to be rather topsy-turvy. I don't feel safe. I don't feel secure. I put a little bit of a notice out on the channel about the government and its agents and agencies, in these seas of, when the agents of the agencies. I don't like the way that they're not getting along. Everybody's blaming everybody. Everybody's fighting. Nobody can rise up and be the bigger, politician, Democrat, Republican, diplomat, Prime Minister, Queen, King. Nobody, there's such a lot of instability out there at the minute. We can bring stability. When they fail, the fact that we won't go wild and act like savage cavemen, because there's no police, wow, or what, there's no parliament, the rule of law has gone for a swim, whatever, however you want to turn it. A collapse of the establishment in some way, financially, we'll say banks. When I say a collapse of the establishment, I don't mean the end of the world. I just mean if we was to look at diminishing employment, low savings perspective, monies, benefits, state reliance and recessions, then the fact that we've got our own resources between us, we could, we learn to help each other that way, we'll be a lot better off. So we was going to try and say hello to anyone that's new, any ideas, any topics, any news, any questions, because we can just waffle for, well, I can anyway.
Yeah, England. Just want to say, Yardy, night, brother. Thanks for joining us. Keep well, mate. We'll catch up with you soon. Nice to see you. Thank you. Claire, good evening. I thought I saw Flies in the house. All right, mate. How are you? I think checking I haven't missed any names. I thought I saw another one in there. Mr. Mentzer, good evening. I knew there was somebody in there I'd missed.
You see, there's nothing written stating that man is not allowed to express, or if you find these constructed implied trusts, and then correct the relationships through public notices, declarations, and how we look at settle and discharging the debt title with the equitable asset, with that said trustee. So the time frames and how we get this done. So public notices of a claim of a title, debt title, and then placing that title into a new assigned trust under a new specific title through a special deposit orders and so forth, distinguishing it with your equitable asset. So yes, these are words that were given some time ago that I want to bring back on, and we're going to focus on quite a lot simultaneously. You see, with us, we are very hungry Horaces, we are hungry hippos, never mind the council of hippo. Well, the indigo hungry hippo game has just been activated, and if you're looking to chew up information and get into something new, then go find, if you're on the .com, the resource library, and look at the 1,470 page document. It's like a walkthrough to the secret doctrine, all my days, and it's not even all the publications, it's the proem and the proposition needed. When you read this secret doctrine, you've got to carry that proposition of there's 4 propositions to keep with you to hold the frame of thought when it comes to conscience, matter, and the universe itself. So yes, go on there and have a look at the publications that are aptly titled there. There's a lot of activity, simultaneous research and discovery, but the quanta, as we've said, it's directly related to the atom, the electron, nucleus, and these establishments and science, businesses and medical academies could be making use of this technology, but they're not allowed to because the technology they're given is limited. The army get their first dibs, on things that are good, we'll call it, profitable, beneficial. How many can it kill is the first question man asks. That attitude needs to go and be changed. Just in case we've got any questions there, like there's a car that drives around with cameras on the roof, and you can look at 360 degrees. And do you know what that car does? Everybody, it works for a corporation, and it looks for number plates. And when it looks at a number plate, it checks an online database, mobile, on the horsey, and it checks for tax and insurance and tickets and liabilities. And if it finds a flag, they stop their patrol car, and they get out, and they put a little triangle metal disc on the wheel, and they issue, civil collection of fines and fees. Now I look at that and I go, so we have a police force, we have a government, we have child investigation teams, but never have I seen a patrol car dedicated to missing children in my life, or missing sons and daughters. Never have I seen a patrol car with a camera on looking for, men that it's needed to find, that it can't find. And I thought to myself, why is it that industry and commerce can afford to have all these officers and sheriffs and collection agents and funnel all this money out, and court fees and bails and solicitors, and where does all this transactional fluid end up? Whose pockets does it line? Do you know what I mean? And when it's corporative, it's endless. It really is. Technology is given to the military, and they will drive around looking on whose property to steal. But when you lose property, they won't drive around looking to find it, because there's no money in that. And even though it's kind of technically their own property, and they come to learn what we've learned with the, even though it's deceptive and non-disclosed and whatever, it's not really like the claiming of the souls in the Bulla Papil. They haven't really claimed anybody's souls. It's just to make them feel better in their sick little sadistic plans. Well, what we've done is we've done that bit. So from this day forward, it's all fair fucking game. Makes my shit it. Sorry, guys.
Jolly good show. Let's go rape a few more peasants. I did see a comment from Yar in there that they have a PIP telephone assessment tomorrow, which always sounds incredible to me, because I hope that they've got one of those Scopo phones where they can see your medical condition down the phone. Are you entertaining them with information? I wouldn't, because they've got no legitimate reason to have it, not fit for purpose. There's no medical qualifications. You probably heard me say this all before. Ask them, say, before we go ahead with the interview, can I see Atos's medical license, please? Site of proof. That should be the end of your phone call.
Go on, lad. Yeah.
I wouldn't give them anything until they prove legitimacy, personally, and they can't prove legitimacy. And at least the person you're giving the info to, you want to know, are they the decision maker? If they're the decision maker, then you want to see their liability insurance for any decisions they make that override your medical professional's decisions, in case they cause you harm, loss and injury because they're an unqualified idiot, which is the term I use. It's not vexatious, the term idiot. They might not like it, but it's actually not vexatious. Perfectly valid word to use in that situation. So, but each to their own. I'm not telling you what to do, but personally, I wouldn't give them anything. If they've already got all your medical stuff, the DWP have got your medical stuff, and you're signed off by a GP or a consultant, whatever, you've got a medical certificate. That's the trick. So they're saying they're giving you an assessment. But what type of assessment? They don't tell you that. What you require is a medical assessment. Well, they're not giving you a medical assessment. They're just giving you an assessment. So that's what you've got to argue on. What I require is a medical assessment. I've already been assessed by consultants at whatever level, and on the strength of that, my GP has issued a unfit for work, long-term, whatever, certificate. So if there's any assessment I need, it must be a medical one. What are your medical qualifications? Are they the same as my consultant? Are they the same as my GP? Oh, they're not? Well, then you best show me your insurance in case you cause me loss. Don't give it to them easy.
That's it. We'll look for the comments and feedback.
Yeah, I'm outside at the moment, so that's a question I remembered from the. So I haven't got any phone or anything with me, so I remembered it. So I'm just sitting outside at the moment. So, if you are responding, give me about 10 minutes and I'll have a look.
Is there anything you'd like to say on ecclesiastical depots, or do it in reverse? I'll let you speak about whatever you've got a comment on, and how you view them, and then I'll go with my Langu.
I think they're powerful, but I think in combination, there seems to be a pretty much a standard version of them doing the rounds. They all seem much of a muchness. I think it all helps, because ultimately in the system ecclesiastical reigns, so it would make sense to me that the depot would be in that realm.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, with the blood print and all that. You have to be careful with the blood print stuff now, though. You must cover it in clear plastic, otherwise it's a biohazard and they won't accept it. So bear that in mind.
We're annoying Russia and China, two of the most biggest political and financial and military forces in the world. China, you're not right, and that's us saying that. That's us. We can't say shit, to be fair, for at least the next 2,000 years after all the trail of blood this dynasty and monarchy have left behind its trail, dragging its ass from Rome through Egypt, through Judea and Middle East up to this point, so it seems. But it's yeah, it's really just it's a scary prospect we find with a special relationship with America and the man who can't. What is it? I want to take that wig off. It just really anybody that values their look and image, like, and even our lasses said that she's not politically motivated at all. If we was to have a book which had from the least motivated to the most motivated members on the planet, our lass would be patient zero, least motivated politically. She doesn't want to, after what she's seen, she doesn't want to see anymore. And yeah, she just says, why does he do his hair like that? All the money he's got, he looks like an idiot. You can't take him seriously. I'm like, yes, we know this, my darling, but people, they love him. And yeah, we're friends with him. And I dismay, I really do, with the political state. It doesn't matter how many notices. What one point is it doesn't matter how many colour pens you get, and ribbons and bows and notices. When these lunatics, the objective is, are they fit and safe to have nuclear warheads at their disposal? I don't. Yeah, if you ask me, and what we've seen and the evidence in the public realm, the answers are clearly no.
Jesus,
Nuclear
scary.
warheads. Yeah. That's what we've
Uh,
got on China, Russia, India, America, England. These aren't little names, and they're all pissed off with each other, and they're all stealing. And then, and can I just say, MI5 and GCHQ, they've publicly accused Dominic Raab's backpedaling, forward pedaling. He doesn't know where to go first. China, Russia. Oh, what you doing to me? Oh, poor Dominic. Oh, Dominic. And do we really think, scribes and initiates, that England isn't spying on anybody? Are we? So we're sat here not spying on anybody, catching every. Is that what's happening? Do we really think? Let's just sit a moment. We don't need a moment. Of course, we're spying on everybody. We got quantum farms, capability. Everybody else is outgunned on a classic computer. If you're not the government or a billionaire, then I'm sorry, you can't afford a quantum computer. But these fuckers, they've got quantum farms. What are they doing with that? Well, wouldn't you like to know? Yes, wouldn't you like to know? That's another video in itself. But yeah, so we're outgunned now, and they're just sat there going, "What should we do now, Jeeves? Where's that book?"
but it
Insane.
does make you wonder, doesn't it? Right? With all this, we know what's all the espionage and counter-espionage is going on across the world. We're all at it, and then they go, "I know what's a good idea. Let's get Huawei to put in all our infrastructure for our 5G." That's a brilliant idea. Whoever came up with that, bought the champagne. Oh, hang on a minute. Aren't they part owned by the Chinese government? Yeah. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, and there was a shout going out to the backbenchers that said we should also get rid of that fucking annoying. They didn't swear, but I can't say it without swearing. We should also, here, we should also get rid of that fucking app, TikTok. For God's sake, ban it. And somebody said no. I'll leave you to find out the details, but for mums and dads who don't
Yeah.
like their child being programmed by these weird little things, and some backbenchers had the bollocks to say, and also, furthermore, and they went, well, what? No, we can't have that. We're only going so far. Bless them.
Mad.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, the level of what appears to me now. I'm not not well. I'm academic now. I never was a few years, But the level of education and the intelligence, or I should say, scarily lack of, that is shown by these politicians, I don't know how they get there. Now, either that is a reflection on the mental state of the population that are voting these idiots, which is even more scary. But the people that are supposedly up there in power, fighting against the power in power and shouting at each other generally on expenses, are fucking idiots. Unbelievably stupid. That's what I see.
thoroughly nice man, Tim, nice but dim. Remember him?
Yeah.
Thoroughly
Ah,
nice man.
Unbelievable. It's frightening. You think, how have you got there? How
Because
have you got there?
because daddy was a duke and earl and such, and I'm a boy, so I take his place when he goes out. That's how we go in. It doesn't. You don't take a test. No fucking hell. If you had to take a test, geez, daddy'd have to pay to get me through. I don't really think very well.
Don't do anything very well.
There you go. So it's bloodline lineage. It's inherent in that case, and that's what we're seeing. It's in the family, keeping it in the fam, and gets us in
Well,
this state.
I don't mind them keeping it in the fam. Just keep it out of Parliament.
So we have drifted a bit from ecclesiastical deed poll into weapons. It was my fault going nuclear with the bomb there and the potentials of are they to be, should we, is it ethical, morality is put to one side. Your comments on the ecclesiastical deed poll, that per curim divina is from Brother Frank. When you've heard me shout out and say big love to Franco Collins, I've had for some years a lot of his work, studies, videos, proclamations, and we've got passed to us and from others that claim to have got and etc. They don't know what we have and who we've explored and researched already. So with regards to the Eucadia canons and the continuation of canons that we found out with the 2056, I think it was, that come into question at the time, just like with the Clearfield Doctrine, we chew down and we chew deep till we get to the bone on it. Sorry vegetarians, that was awful, but it's just what's needed to be done in this case. There's no pretty way of putting a bloody battle before you. We can sprinkle glitter on a pin, that's about it. So when you do this ecclesiastical deed poll, we're looking at our post that I've put up and your 10 comments underneath about CQVs and trust numbers and certificates, and the master of the rolls is talking to the church there, where you've heard expert in all legal matters, Brother Steve, and I'm not sure what clan he's from, but he's known as the McRae to some, and to the Bincham as others, and he's given you the ecclesiastical, and the deed poll and the evidences. Furthermore, what goes with that, the strength, the covenants, and yes, we got records and bonds and trust numbers and Sesta KVs, two separate ones there. And with regards to your Treasury Direct Trust Bond Indemnification, Employee Identification Number, QSIP, all of that's coming out in the wash in layer 2, because I want to do this together, get our heads together around the UCC. A few of you that have got in there and then got bored, and then you're still hanging around to see what, you're like a vulture. You can't be asked doing any work, but you're all right willing to circle overhead to pick at some bones. If there is a pot of gold to be coming, you'll swoop down to get a couple of gold coins. Maybe you'll find your energy and join in the fam then. But if you are a vulture, or you are a present truth seeker, then we're going to explore this. But once again, there's no point declaring to the papacy, the Holy See, the papacy, when we talk about the Vicar of Christ in the nation on its own there, the Vatican City, no part of Italy. It's Vatican City is a city outside of Italy, on Italy, like the UK is on England, but it's not England. And the papacy there, you profess to him and correct everything, and then Kim Jong whatever the 8th goes and presses his red button because he's pissed off with the insults of the royal family, a blundering American president, and a stupid backpedaling racist, institutionally racist Prime Minister of England. He just goes and just does it. North Korea presses it, South Korea gets scared, presses it anyway, Germany reacts, Russia's in just for the fun of it, Putin can't seem to be scared, Trump realises late, it's game over. You know what I mean? So your paper's going to do jack shit, I realise that, and I thank you for that. But until that moment, we have the hope, yes?
Yes, there is.
We
can but hope.
What I was going to say is that once we get to the point of private, then we've got to look at taking these fucking weapons off these nutters, to be fair.
Well, especially because North Korea, I mean, that's nearly a trinity, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, the grandfather and father are still the head of state and the whatever his dad was. So we just got him. So basically, once he dies, maybe they're going to be the world's first necrocracy.
You love it. You love this. Well done. Kudos. 10 points. Yes. The book, the Necronomicon returns.
Yeah, the country completely run by dead people.
It wasn't me, it was the ghost of my... Oh no, not that one. Right. Furthermore, I need to bring to you, changing the subject, pin everything. I'm not a fan of Dr. Stephen of the Greer clan. I'm not here to advertise Stephen. I'm a massive bodybuilder. I'm a nerd though. I used to be a doctor, but I've got some mad shit. Kudos to him and his work. I'm not here to besmirch his work because it looks interesting and some of it, not so much SETI and all of that business there, the Arecibo and whatnot, but that's interesting. But a crop circle and the return reply, we'll carry on. He says, this is what I'm talking about though. When I talk about Bruce Lipton, when I talk about when we're talking about Greg Braden, this is going to make Ken Wheeler and Walter Russell's toroidal thing now, link into place, because watch, listen, and hopefully learn a little bit. When you're looking at this 1888 Madame Blavatsky, going, what, Dave? We've got Latin, we've got English, we've got legalese, we've got all this to learn. You're bringing the quanta, and now you're bringing us an old lady from the 1800s, extra work. Why? Why should I do it? I think you're a Fruit Loop. Well, listen, it turns out that on that video called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind with Stephen Greer, I'm going to say it like that because I don't really like him. Help me, I'll get to the point, I swear to God, next year though.
No, it has to be this year, Dave. This is the last year. Don't forget.
Oh shit, yeah, my bond. Bonded myself, idiot. He says on that Discovery documentary about aliens, encounters, sky gods, flying Roman shields, the like, he talks about the unified field, and I was like, aye up, the quantum flux unified field of non-locality, get in, let's go. This is prayer, also known as prayer, but not explained as prayer to you. The thought of intent. The intent is what the judge has to know if there's any intent, the ment. We talk about the mind again. Well, he talks about the translation of aliens, technology, entities that may not be. Because what he's got a 3-letter abbreviation, we'll call it CEM. And what he's discovered is, if him and his pals go out to the desert and think really hard and meditate on contacting aliens, they've got quite good at getting orbs to appear. Not just any orbs, shapes, triangles. He's got videos, and I'm not here to promote him. I don't really like him at all, but he needs to be mentioned, because even though I don't like him, I'm not going to disregard him, because that's arrogance and where you go wrong. So what does he do? He does some mad stuff. Anybody that's into Greer, hit the screen up and tell them what he does. And they turn up, he gets them on video, and the Pentagon, MI5 and the like are aware he's been taken away. He claims to have chatted to some rather high-ranking government secret shadow officials as well. He's got to have been chipped, and yes, Stephen, I'm sorry, but you did it to yourself, pal. You came out and told the world and made the film. I didn't. So, poor Stephen. Moving on, he speaks about
Ultra.
Oh bless! He speaks about the unified field and the spirits and the apparitions and the dimensions and the possibilities, and he goes quite technical, and I loved it. I was like, oh, the neoplasticity and the neural networks are, and he was going on the level of the connection of the speaking without moving of the lips, and aliens not really being English or Latin American or Francais or Greek or whatever it is that you are of the language. Langu of, and he says it translates because it's on the unified field and like these laws and etc. And he brings it in, he homes everything in, and he says this is how everything's connected. I'm like, this is like Madame Blavatsky. This is the same thing as the Hermetic ka 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 ka. This is the sound of the truth, and I knew he was telling the truth because all the other stuff was homing in and it was echoing off, and I was like, but it had missing bits into it, and what he said was the following. He said before 9/11 and after 9/11, there are these machines, computers, and they print zeros and ones. They're measuring the quantum environment and the variables in the. And he went on and explained it. And he says shortly before, and just after, they all started to print either zeros or ones in clusters, more frequent than the random patterns they print throughout the year. So to spell it out, they go 0 or 1 every second, we'll say, and they just go on like that. And over the 12-month period, they look at all them 0 and 1s throughout them 65 days, over all them seconds and minutes and hours and months and years, and they go, it's about 50-50, look again, zeros and ones ratio, okay? But when 9/11 happened, them non-located on different continents, they all started to tweak 1111 at the same time, or 000, and they clustered up. Something happened in the field, and he explains a bit of that, but that's not my point. My point is somebody who I forget the name of did an experiment. We're getting it to the end now. It comes the delivery. I need a breath. And he does an experiment. The Russians have done quite a lot. Kudos to them and their sleep deprivation projects and projects with MK Tavistock and the plants and interesting things. And they get a room and they put a random operating light in there. So it's got 4 positions it can go in, either 4 corners of the room, and it does it randomly. And they do many rooms, and some rooms have plants in. And the rooms with plants in, the random operating light goes to that plant more often than any of the positions in the room. And he says that when the rooms don't have plants in, they just randomly operate a 25% variant like it's randomly meant to do. He said, so sometimes it's a 30, but on average, he says these ones with the plants, the light will go over to where the plant is. So Stephen Greer stops the tape and says, so everybody, listeners, initiates, what does that tell you? It tells you that a plant can speak to an electronic, which is the quantum field, which is the electricity, which is the electromagneto, which is the Walter and the Ken and the Bruce and the Greg and the Hermetica and the Torah and a little bit of prayer from the Bible. And it's in a very, very nice places where we are, because I watched that video and I was quite entertained by it, and I was it wasn't a waste of my time. I'm glad that somebody recommended. I'm not here to promote it, and I didn't pay for it, so up yours, Stephen. But a cracking film.
There you go, have that. Well done on the film, but stick it up your arse.
I give you £3 of promotion. £3 of promotion.
Prepaid.
£3 of promotion, Stephen. Sorry, Mr. Greer. Miss Greer, sorry. So yeah, the language, the most powerful language, I was saying to Kevin the other day, of all of the languages and all of the styles and characters and depictions that we can have, and energies and wave vibrations and clusters and 3 dots and pyramids and all of that, the most powerful kick-ass language that I can testify to all of you right now that I've found that I'm most impressed with is the quietest language. It's the language of silence, everyone. You silence your mind and you shut up. Like it's hard for me in the beginning, but you listen and you meditate on things like, what is the sound of one hand clapping? You would think quite instantly, arrogantly, well, nothing, because one hand can't clap, idiot. But then when you ponder and meditate on that question, and you think, well, to be asked it, there must be a deeper, more subtle hint that I'm missing, the meaning that I need to find. And if I quiet my mind and you meditate on things, and information is given. The only other way to explain that is if you ever tripped your tits off and seen stuff, information is given, all right, but it's not intellectually obtained through a meeting, words, sentences, videos, books. It's thoughts and feelings, and these thoughts and feelings is quantum entanglement and stuff. Now you can prove it and see it and measure it and almost touch it and feel it. There's a lot of work been done into this already to say with the Pentagon's revelations of aliens aren't for crazy tinfoil hat people. They're for everyone. They're not just for Christmas and Roswell. They're for everyone. And Project Bluebeam might be bringing us some very, very soon. Who knows? So yeah.
Spooky music in the background.
Yeah, there's a great new when we bring out the next leg off. I want those that can to grab some of that and run with it and meet us because when we expand and explore, where the language of quanta is very much going to be useful, but the science of it is 0 point energy no less. No actual viruses, no diseases. We've looked at alkalinity. And Josh X has talked a bit about stuff, and we've looked at the old professors and the Rifes and the Schraubbergers and Grebnikovs and what we've brought. We should count ourselves lucky. The technologies, and what's been put out there. So we have an age and era upon us where everyone's running around and looking a bit sad, but I'm quite happy for what is coming because the legal system it will interface with you and it will interface wanting to be interfaced with the legal man and we've separated man from his legal person. We've got the most powerful technology and quite a lot of endorsement and backups, Kev, so we should the room, the scribes, you, we should all feel proud and quite rock solid of where we are.
Yeah, we're doing all right. We're doing all right. Got no denying that.
The information that we get and how we get it, it presents itself and it finds its way to us. It's when I've said the sacred contract, I mean the secret doctrine. It's not always for me to give you what I'm talking about because I want you to stay with me and I don't want you all to run off on different tangents. And if you are, noticing, we do need to stick together. There's a lot going off, and each one of you, hopefully over time, picks the areas like the language or the science or the history, the chronological, archaeological, chronological timelines. There's people good with numbers, people good with elements, sciences, tables, data, and we need to see what we can come up with here. You've got your area there, and you like chewing government asses for picking on the weak and less abled, and you're very good at it, Kevin. We're very lucky to have, had what we've had there with you. It's been incredible.
Yeah, I like sticking it to the man.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. They don't like it. They fight back, but ultimately, you've got them from the off, and then it just then you start seeing the true spitefulness of it all, which is the sad part of it. Just these are everyday people that live amongst us, treating you like that. It is nothing but malicious and spiteful. No, there's no other way it can be described. It's so childish. It's unbelievable. But you get them in the end. That's as I've always said. That's the only thing we can't control is the amount of time they will screw you around, especially when you challenge them. But as I say, you've won from the off. Just whether you've got the balls to play the game, but tribunal untouchable. You go in there, if you use what we've done, and you bundle. We've already had decisions on that bundle, so they can't give you different decisions. But ultimately, as I say, now it's down to the mandatory and stuff, not being mandatory. Just last week, I think one of the brothers in here that he passed some info on to somebody, and they asked the question and got told no, it's not mandatory straight away. So I say sometimes they're telling you it is, but it seems like it's getting around now, and that's the killer. Not mandatory, then that's it. It's not mandatory. How can they sanction you? And if they do sanction you, then you've got a case against them. It can't be anything but malicious. So, but yeah, I like sticking it to them. As I say, in the assessment arena is where we're most strong. But to be totally honest with you, I mean, we've done other stuff for people. It's all about the rules, and we've got most of them covered. So it doesn't really matter what they throw at you. But as I say, it's just they don't like it. Obviously, they don't like it because that means they're not earning their money for getting somebody screwed up. But the chances are, from what I can work out, you might as well fight them from the off, because 9 times out of 10 they're going to deny you the benefit anyway, and then you'll have to fight it. But by that point, you're 3 or 4 months down the line, so you might as well fight it from the off. Just take it up, take the battle to them from the off as soon as you get the assessment letter. That's in my opinion. They don't, we've got it. They don't deserve any of this. They're not qualified to have any of this information. They're not qualified to even have your name and address and telephone number. They have no legitimate reason to have it because they are not qualified. Absolute idiots in the medical field. And that's what we're talking about, the medical field. And they're not in the medical field. So bollocks to them.
Yeah, it's the legal again. It's like the BBC and the old age pensioners and TV licensing rules, regulations. There's no room for emotion. It's business, but it's we don't run like that. There's lines, and lines are being crossed. Like the acid in the face Joe Brand BBC lines crossed.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're seeing here. I'm sorry to reference that, but that's the seriousness, impending doom. Why are news, and football celebrities talking about how our boys, sons and daughters would maybe look at starving over the summertime because Britain's on its arse that much? It's embarrassing to hear, that we have immigration from foreign shores coming this way to work, and yet we are all here together and, classed as Britain, England, UK, and that most of the families that are here working, which is inclusive as non-nationals now, can't afford to feed ourselves and stuff because of the systems that are in place. So sanctioning is is a military terminology. I'd argue again. You get sanctioned, you get disciplined, you get detained. Schools with detention, you get detainment. That comes from the military as well. Hospitals coming from the military. Wards of the state. It's there's a lot of army talk and business. There's not much empathy at all. So that's I just said hello to the room, Kev. I'm just looking at if there's any comments. And Claudio's give a shout out to SPL.
Yeah, I see that. Jerry. Cheers, Claudio. Fair play. Alias just says they put in a DSAR. Well, ultimately, I mean, fair play to you. And always backdated. They, watch them for that. And then, and did you get it pretty quickly? Buggers they are. But no, fair play to you. But as I say, ultimately now, the reality is our original conditional acceptance is really superfluous to requirements. It's the first 2 questions now that we've added 2 questions. They are questions 1 and 2 now, and that's all you need. Which is it mandatory? And if it is mandatory, then where have you informed me, or where have I consented to hand in my medical health care away from medical professionals to, I call them healthcare idiots, but you can put it in inverted commas, healthcare professionals, because that's what they call them. Our healthcare professionals, well, I'm not interested in your healthcare. I need medical professionals. But fair play to you, as I say, but it's ultimately, it's literally down to those questions now. And most people that are asking, most, not all, are getting it straight. No, it's not mandatory. So once they say that to you, that's it then. Well, it's not mandatory. I don't have to attend. Thanks very much for the offer. Maybe in a couple of years I'll consider it. Send me another letter sometime. But fair play. Yeah, but that's right. But that's what I'm trying to get to people. You know, they're gonna fuck with you if they can. Excuse my French. But that's what they're gonna do to you. So you might as well take the battle up. Because I know people that have gone, oh no, I'll go to the assessment, and they go to the assessment, and then they're waiting 12 weeks to get a result, and then they come back with no, and then you've got to start the battle. So now you've got another 6 months. So now you're 9-10 months down the line before you're getting into a tribunal and stuff. So you might as well do it from the off. And then at least you've got a chance of being in the tribunal inside 3. Or with what we've got now, it shouldn't even go there. And if they do, then as I say, you've got a pure case to then make a claim for them against them for malicious actions. Cannot be anything else but malicious. So, and this is what we've got to start doing, you see, is hitting them in the pocket, because we all know they're private businesses. We all know it's about profit. And mark my words, as soon as you start cutting in to the profit and hitting the bottom line, shit changes quick.
They do mark your words. They put them on academia.eu. Recopied them. Yeah, they do, brother. You've done well there. Like,
yeah, I got another notification the other day.
I think, we got quite a lot of activity going on there. If we're going to have to get the trust to get an account on Academia EU and then go fishing.
Tit for tat. So we'll give you an account. You give us one so we can have a look. We ain't paying you. I'm not paying you to look at my own work.
Yeah, that's it. The trust can absorb. Hello to Menza and Fly. I've seen mixed up there. Certified Sovereign. Easy. I've just seen that you dropped in. You got any questions, any comments in relation to the post that I've been doing? It's a rather broad title, Conscience and Matter. You will need to rewind and make some notes and look at, if you're that way inclined, to prepare for where we're going. But if you've got a question, something in specific you would like to ask, then I remember when I used to always say Pacific. I'm glad I'm not there now, but a good 25 years of my life at least specifically speak about then oceanic consciousnesses and Pacifically speaking. Then type it, let us know. And furthermore, I haven't mentioned that we're still planning. I would like to say one major couple a day annual meeting, or a couple of broken little ones, one day is maybe south and the north or something. So I will update you when we get more details and more progress made on that. If we can find a field somewhere that's near some amenities, for families and whatever, then we can look at setting up camp for a couple of days. That would be ideal. We can have mini seminars, and we've done that before and it went down well. So if you've got any recommendations, you would email Kevin at splspro.com.
You bastard.
Thank you. I've got enough. He will tell me.
Can I redirect my mailbox to yours?
You can try. I'll let you know if you do it.
Yeah.
Bless you. Yeah, you can email me as well, but we'd like to.
Yeah, just a little bit of that. We're not, we're not going to be. Well, we'll have a big rave if we can, but we've
not like Avon and Somerset did. No.
It's a bit more like sitting around the campfire, chatting type stuff and that sort of thing, and nice and mellow. So very sociable. So if anybody does know anybody, it might be able to accommodate us. That would be excellent.
It sure would. So that's just something I wanted to mention. We're looking on that, and big up your sexy gets. I heard that in the Yorkshire,
I saw that.
Yorkshire accent as I read that, Fly. And we got a posh pool and a chippy pool. We're just looking for a tall pool now, and then that's the pools they're in. Watch ya.
Yeah, I'm just reading Chippy Paul's comment. Yeah, there is a lot of stuff on there, mate. Download the packs. Start with them, mate. Get your heads around them.
What's that there? There's a lot here. Frequency time formulated for time travel. So Penel's got the flux capacitor. What's going on here? So I know it's to the Director General.
Yeah, that'd be a goal of ours, Lisa, is to have a gathering in Alaska up near you. I know there's plenty of land there. That'd be a journey and a half, wouldn't it? We'll nip up to Lisa's. See Lisa and James. Have a little conference there. That'd be nice. That's what I call an adventure.
Come next month for spare rooms. Yeah, we're looking for a field and somewhere to bless you and thank you. Number one, and number two, yeah, fields, an event, seminar, meeting, vans parking up. Last time we went and rescued an old American van. One of the farmer boys, the Oxford farmer boys, had to go and do a bit of improv on some kind of mechanical fuel pump, it might have been, or the steering pump, and a specific American built, was it a Jaime or something type?
I can't remember now, yeah.
You might be offended by that, but you know how these caravan owners are. Not caravan, a motorhome.
Caravan.
I've already done it.
Caravan.
Fucking caravan.
Oh dear.
We'll see. So, questions, any comments? Yeah, we're going to be getting off shortly.
Yeah, I'm gonna duck out shortly-ish, people, I'm afraid.
Thank you for Chippy Paul. He said that it's going to start from seeing you and I remember you just.
Yeah, well, I couldn't think. What is it? Well, what do we call the pack? I can't think of the bloody name.
You've got there's a button you can download it. It's on the resource library. And
yeah, but what do we call it?
I'm not telling you. It's a secret now.
Oh no, don't. Do me head in. That's it, Dave. It's over.
The Masters Guild, SMG. I just say SMG.
Thank you, yeah, that's the one. I knew it was a submachine gun.
Submachine
SMG.
Gun. Yeah, guilds, and we're going to look into lots. We're going to get into numbers, and Simon, me and you do need to have a chat. Maybe me, you, and Kev, a triple head get together would be good. He's a legendary insight. Comes from many different angles. We don't always look at.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to, while before you've just got off my screen, Dave, this is a question for you. Chippy Paul's asked, is there any way of notifications for live chat on the .com?
Maybe.
So that would have to be an SMS or something, wouldn't it?
No, what we do is normally when I post it you should get an email if it's in a forum, where you can put notify me of this by email. That's what I think the other someone called Steve might have done. You know, when you go in on the thread, you can put a tick on it to say notify me of responses by email, and then when I put the notification, and yes, there is, but you'd have to use the .com to tick that box when you reply to the thread, or when you go in there, you'd have to say thank you, or give me a comment, us a comment, and then you can select the option notify me of the replies by email, and then when we go live and I post the link, as we are we are live always, we don't go live. This is bored, man alive, good lord, Sheffield would kill me. And when we start casting the live stream, then you will get the email when I post a link, because it will say David's commented, and that's the nearest I can do, other than Kev sending you a personal SMS, if that's what he was offering.
Yeah, I want everybody's phone number.
Oh, the health department and data control was in the news today, was it not? Saying that we didn't do anything wrong, honestly, we didn't. They just forgot about data and the importance of it, I think.
Yeah, we didn't do anything wrong. we just forgot everything.
Where is it now? Oh, it's just at the headquarters of Amazon. What? What do you mean? No.
Yeah. They're good at looking after stuff.
Keeping it safe for us. Bless. No, it's Just something I heard that's.
Oh, Jerry's off. Sorry,
Yeah, go on.
Dave. Night, Jerry, mate. Thanks for popping by. Good to see you, brother. He's off. We've bored him to sleep. He doesn't suffer with insomnia anymore. Well, once a week anyway, doesn't
Yes, I'll give you some more updates, and we're just preparing. I don't know what's happening. Is anybody else feeling tired or run down? Is there others out there with fits and bursts of energy coming and going? Yeah, me and Kev have had a little dip here and there.
Yeah. Seem to be low on. Yeah, seem to be quite low on. Not mentally or spiritually down, but energy. Everything seems to be a bloody struggle. I mean, it is a bit of a struggle for me anyway, but even more so for some reason. That I've noticed. I'm in a lot more pain at the moment as well. Seems to have increased. Which is just not cricket.
Yeah, knackered today especially. Yeah, I've a little bit of fatigued, a little bit run down, but yeah, I will come onto the camera soon. My mouth's all swelled up. The swelling's gone down, and it's ready to for Pirate Dave to come out and smile at you, I think.
Pirate Dave.
Oh, brains!
Just can't you just wedge your chewing gum in there? Wrigley's bit, you know, bit of Wrigley's or something.
Yeah, Anka said that. There's no one.
Painted black.
I like it actually. I think it adds character.
Excellent.
I'm keeping you all in suspenders, so when I do show you, it'll be all the more better. You know. You see my little boat race again. Boat race face.
You know, you could wear a mask, Dave, and come on camera, and nobody'd have to see.
A persona.
You could pretend it's for COVID.
A real persona, you say.
Yeah, you could have a persona. There you go.
That's exactly it. So David and Kevin, you can never hold man David and man Kevin responsible for anything you hear on these broadcasts and shows, because they are our actual personas that are taking over as we speak, and when we finish, then we go back to being like, you know, like that scene in, not all of you will, but most of you will reference the scene in Life of Brian where the Roman soldier comes up to the two guards and he asks some questions about, have you seen certain, you know, man, maybe Brian, and they say they stutter and stammer and they can't speak. And then the Roman soldier goes, and after he's gone out of earshot, the one lad says to the other lad, he goes, hey up then, what you doing tonight? Fancy coming around for a game of cricket like? And it's a police officer, the Roman centurion, talking to the slaves, or the, you know, the meek at the time there. Is respectively an officer, stop and search and answer questions, so they just pretend they can't speak, and he fucks off and leaves them to it, and they can go back chatting as they was. So I forget why I'm telling you that now at the end, but yeah, I was comparing something to the Life of Brian, and that scene there where they can't speak the lingo. It's a very advantageous move. I like that, and I forget where I was going. I've lost myself. Tired. What was I saying before, Kev?
We were talking. That's what I hate when you think, fuck, what were we talking about?
No, because you instantly forget. As soon as someone says that, your brain goes,
yeah,
dump
I
it.
was
Dump it
just
like
trying to
jet
remember.
fuel.
Well, why were we talking about the changing, you know, pretending to speak one way, and then when the authority moved away, they spoke perfectly normal. So why were we on that thread?
yeah, bless. It's all good. It's all
Yeah,
good.
it's too late. It's gone.
Bless up. Yeah, some will be.
Must be the COVID.
What? For you, not me. No such.
No chance touching me, but I've already had it anyway. It was nothing.
We're going to get some updates in due time, and yes, I'll give you some more community posts. There are a lot of premonitions out there. We'd like to pull the resources as ever. I'm going to. I didn't answer any emails this weekend. Saturday I just completely did nothing. I'll be honest with you. I was so tired, and then Saturday night when it come to go live, I said to the .com and to Tube, it's not happening. I'm enjoying this rest, and I don't think, I want to go live, and it'd be good if we did. So then Kev said the same, and we'll get back with some more now. I'm well rested. I'm back to speed, and I've got lots to bring you, and I want you to be involved. I want you to come and help, and I think we can do some magical, in effect, some magical things. And your person, your persona, the mask I was on about, weren't I, with the putting on before the Roman soldiers. I was on about the persona. We can't be held accountable for anything that's said on the channel because it's not us. It's our personas. Yeah, my brain. It's come back to me, Kev. It's that
Just
Dave and
remembered.
Kev here. It's we reference ourselves as that, but an alter ego.
No ego.
It wasn't me speaking of a language. So yeah, we'll want to look forward to coming back later when we're a bit more bushy-tailed and bright-eyed, eh?
Yeah, so it's just been a weird few days, and I really feel it's taking it out of me. But it's just not like I do much, but I just feel that so the spirit's good, the soul's and all that's all good, and the health's what it is, but just extra fatigued for some reason at the moment. But getting there. So it's always onwards and upwards. It's all good. We'll get over it.
I can't get to the history and tell you what new documents I've put on in the resource library, but there is quite a lot for you to choose there. And we did do an update last night, didn't we, for the .com update there? So we've updated you through a unlisted video that's in the .com for you to look at. And that's it. I've got no other news or political things I want to discuss this time of the night. The room seems good. Apologies for the delay, and we didn't really go into the ecclesiastical deed poll as deeply as I want to, but
we can go into that a bit more on another one. We'll have a go at it. We'll have an hour on it or whatever. Let's get one out and have a read through and blah blah blah. Can I just say, Claire, thanks. I'm actually, magnesium is one of the things I do take. Lisa, we love you too, and be warned, we are coming to Alaska.
Oh wow, how we know.
We're just going to turn up.
Trust on tour, yes.
We'll bring decks and everything. We'll have a bit of a rave up down the town, eh? I'm sure they'll be right up for it.
The first you'll see of us is our drones doing the recce. Here we go. We're in. Oh bless. I was just gonna shut it down with a little bonus point to anybody that knows of the Scythians. If you are a Star Wars fan and you're aware, you've heard of the Sith and the Sith involvement, the character there. I forget the name now. That man with the red. He was quite scary actually when I first saw him. I thought, oh, he's done all right. Doesn't look like a Star Wars monster. It looks like a demon, devil's, ninja assassin. I can't think of that red Sith man. Sith lords, they're lords as well in Star Wars. Don't forget, for the Empire, the Federation and empires that they have. But Scythians are a race who are attached with a documentary I watched on Gog and Magog, the Scythians and the Khazars.
Oh, yeah.
It appears when you hear, like, I'm just going to say backing up Tartaria and other Tartaria, however you say it, it coming to someone touching on the Cyrus cylinder, and it may have been mentioned in there, Cyrus and Cyrus the Great, and deletion from history, Cyrus will be included in this, the Scythians, Tartaria, and most, Santos said something about a reset in the year zero. If we look at 2020 minus 2020, that year zero there, because there is a few year zeros, which one, that one there, and the moving forward to that point was, new, and they kind of there's arguments many places there. But the Sith, I didn't know anything about them. I found them by accident because someone told me to watch a video on the Cyrus cylinder, and I know Cyrus the Great and the stories about that. But the cylinder and the language and the things, that was a different angle on that one. And because I watched that, then I got surprised with a Khazar and Scythian video connected with Gog and Magog, which I found very surprising. The channel was The Believer. I believe it was. It was The Believer indeed. Gog Magog and Scythians, Scythians, Scythians. Don't know us.
Yeah, you, your big words.
Darth. It was Darth Maul and the Sith. That's who it was. Yeah, but
Yeah.
just interesting. You go all your life and you think you've got quite a broad horizon on music and whatever your subject, your chosen specialist subject is, and then in a couple of months you have so many things drop in your lap that are quite massive, and you think, how could I have possibly not even stumbled across or heard by accident? Maybe I haven't, I didn't notice, or the world's a very big place. You can't see all of the things that you need to see before you die ever. So you're not going to get to see everything you could possibly want to need to see. But when you're in a chosen specialist area, subject and field, you think you know quite a lot of the big names and the research and the discoveries. And then like when someone comes along and you're like, what, who? Say what? And they laugh at you and you're like, but it's not a competition. But yeah, it is funny actually. I will laugh with you. I will, join in. But let's crack on. And you find out there's a reservoir of knowledge, and some of it emanates from the 1800s. That's been well hidden. It's not on your top shelf shit, and there's reasons for that. It's not everyone's cup of tea.
Lowercase t or uppercase t?
But yeah, much love and thank you all. Sorry, we're doing the long goodbyes again, but it's 11:30.
We're good at that.
Let's do it, Kev.
All right. Much love to you all. Thanks for listening. Sorry it's a bit shorter than normal, but have a great week, and we'll catch up with you real soon. Really appreciate your time, everybody. Much love to you all.
I, Rastafari. Yes, I. Much love.